with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You shall not pass. Iconic, legendary, one of the top 5 maybe lines in movie history, as far as I'm concerned. An absolute gem, of course, spoken by Gandalf. Ian McKellen was recently doing with a bunch of the cast from the Lord of the Rings films, was recently at a big fan convention. Now, you guys may know that Gollum himself is directing the upcoming Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Andy Serkis is directing it, and Peter Jackson and his team are deeply, like, this isn't in one of these situations where it's in name only. Like, Peter Jackson and his team are deeply entrenched in writing and producing this thing. They are deeply involved with it. And of course, Andy Serkis functioned as a second unit director for Peter Jackson a number of times. We've known that this movie was coming, and it's going to be set prior to the events of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. What we didn't know, other than Gollum, was who's going to be in it. Well, at this fan event, Ian McKellen got up on stage and basically said this. He said, you know, I've got a couple of secrets about this upcoming Gollum movie. First of all, he said, there's a character named Frodo in it. And the crowd goes wild. But then he says, and by the way, there's also a character named Gandalf in it, to which the audience then lost their minds. And he said, that's all I'm going to say. I don't even know if he was supposed to say that. Now, let me put this out there first so we've got the bases covered. What Ian McKellen did not specifically say was that we were going to get, who was the original actor who played Frodo again?
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. He did not specifically say Elijah Wood is coming back to play Frodo, nor did he specifically say, I am coming back to play Gandalf. But I think it's pretty clear that's what he was saying. Again, I just want to cover our bases to acknowledge that he didn't specifically say that, okay? So it's possible. But I think it's pretty clear. What he was saying is, I'm coming back to play Gandalf. This is a huge deal, I think. I think this is a massive deal, not just for nostalgia's sake, but granted, Lord of the Rings is now an old series of movies.
Still the number one trilogy.
Well, there's only one return, and it's of the Jedi, not of the King. And that's a Clerks 2 line. But that aside, it is so weird to think of Lord of the Rings as being these, as Spider-Man would say, really old movie. But they're old movies now. But to actually have Ian McKellen on screen as Gandalf, I think is going to be a huge bump for this movie. Like a huge bump. And I think for a lot of even Rings fans who are a little bit apprehensive about, after Rings of Power, by the way, season 2 of Rings of Power was much better than the terrible season 1. Or after the Hobbit films, which I don't think are as bad as people. I think if you go back and revisit them, they're not as bad as people. They're just nowhere near as good as the original trilogy. But I think for a lot of those Rings fans who have been maybe a little dismayed by the Rings material we've gotten in the recent decade, I even think for a lot of those people to see Elijah Wood returns, but even more importantly in this context, Ian McKellen as Gandalf returning, I think that's going to go a long way to build what I will call a goodwill bridge to get more people on board and more excited about it. Listen, I've already been looking forward to this. I think Andy Serkis is a really solid director. I think I'm not big on prequel stuff, to be honest with you, but I think there's stuff to explore here. I've already been on board with it. Hearing that Wood and specifically Ian McKellen are back as Gandalf just raised my anticipation level a lot. Anyway, Rob, you saw the Ian McKellen footage. What's your takeaway from it? Does it move the needle? Who is this important for? What do you think?
Well, again, from the very beginning, this is a cash grab. Let's make no mistake. And I'm
but my contention is every movie ever made in history is a cash grab.
Right, but I mean, exploiting an IP. This is not. It is in the books. The Hunt for The Hunt for Gollum is part of the original Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, it's not very fleshed out, so they're going to have to come up with a storyline, which could be very interesting. You got Philippa, Fran, and Peter coming back to write it, and that excites me, because they truly love the material and they think they have a story, and I'm sure they'll probably expand it into 3 movies. It wouldn't surprise me. But it could be interesting because that period of time, you're going to tell a story that's set in Middle Earth about the rise of the Dark Lord, the power of Sauron, reawakening, and what does that do? What does that do to Middle Earth? And I think that there's a lot of story that can be told there with clever screenwriters. And I think that I'm fascinated only because you have the band has been brought back together. Andy Serkis, Philippa Fran, and Peter. And you could dare say, at least with The Hobbit as well, that they were the core team. And you've got Gollum coming back, you've got Andy Serkis directing, and he became a great director. He's in his own right. He made Venom 2. People forget. So in terms of motion capture, they worked together on King Kong, everything he's learned about bringing that character back to life. If nothing else, I can't wait to see his performance. Andy Serkis.
Because what have we seen him do motion capture wise since he did Caesar? Because his performance as Caesar,
he did
straight up, I
Snoke.
thought that was Oscar worthy.
He did Snoke.
Oh, that's right. He was Snoke.
He was Snoke.
Not much to do though.
But yeah, and he also, he was going to he directed the animated Animal Farm, George Orwell's Animal Farm, that was an Annecy that had its world premiere at the Animation Film Festival in France a couple months ago. He was going to do that motion capture, and then they decided not to. They made it a traditionally animated film. But I'm looking forward to it. Bring it on. Fingers crossed. I want it to be good.
Yeah. I think with what they're going to really have to do when they start a media push for this and they start the early stages of the marketing, I think they need to lean very heavy into Philippa and Peter Jackson's involvement in it. They have to really lean into that. They have to basically call this, like, all due respect to Andy Serkis, they've got to refer to this as a Peter Jackson film. I think that's what you have to do in your marketing. Brought to you by Peter Jackson.
Yeah, from producer Peter Jackson. From Academy Award winner.
Peter Jackson. They got to lean into that heavily. Again, all due respect to Andy Serkis. And then they really need to lean into Ian McKellen as Gandalf. I think if they do those things, this thing has got a real chance. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. What a great time to be a sports fan. Basketball playoffs are on. Hockey playoffs are on. It is the perfect time to jump into the action with PrizePicks, the easiest and most fun way to turn your sports knowledge into real winnings. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made really simple. Just pick more or less on a few player projections, like points, assists, goals, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money. For example, this week, I've got Jalen Brunson for more than 24.5 points, or Jason Tatum for more than 6.5 rebounds. I love how fast and easy it is to lock in a lineup in just under a minute. Plus, they've got a couple of weekly features, like, for example, Flex Friday. If your lineup doesn't win, you get your net losses back in promo funds. And every Tuesday, check out Taco Tuesday for discounted player projections up to 25% off. So download the app today and use the code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Ian McKellen has just confirmed that Gandalf and Frodo are returning to the world of Middle-earth in The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Again, the little asterisk, he didn't specifically say he was going to play him, but I think it made it pretty clear he was. But anyway, however you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.